Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Doreen, you call the roll, please.
Rachel Hendrickson,
Here.
Roger Beely,
Here.
Rick Duperry,
Here.
Jennifer Ladd,
Here.
and Chad Reed.
Here.
Thank you. In the absence of Rick Meinking, who will be late, Chad Reed will be voting tonight. We will go to the approval of the minutes for April 4th, 2022. Are there any corrections, additions, subtractions? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor, call the roll, please.
Chad Reed,
Yes.
Rick Duperry,
Yes.
Rachel Hendrickson,
Yes,
Roger Beely,
Yes.
and Jennifer Ladd.
Yes.
thank you. The planning board will conduct a public hearing to receive comment on proposed amendments to chapter 405 of the zoning ordinance, section 6, definitions, to amend the definition of corner lots and to add to the definition of yard front. I believe, Jay, this is yours.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you very much. This is an item that actually began with our zoning board of appeals, actually a few years ago, I think pre-COVID. They had asked staff to take a look at some prevailing issues they've had with non-conforming lots or lots in tight neighborhoods, maybe is more to the point. And the issue with our ordinance requiring that both, if a lot sits on a corner or has frontage on two streets, it therefore has two front yards. And in some cases, we have 30 to 40-foot front yard setbacks. And it's made a number of items come before them that they've really been challenged with trying to fit our variance standards within for projects that they really felt, they seem make a lot of sense, but they challenged by the ordinance language, as sometimes this board is as well. So this was an item they asked staff to begin looking at. And as I said, we were able to bring forward something to the ordinance committee. As things happened over the last couple of years, it sort of fell off the priority list. But more recently, it came back to the ordinance committee and then forward to council for first reading. And so this would change the definition of a corner lot and essentially say that if you have a lot that has frontage, street frontage on two roads, one of those streets would be your primary front yard setback and meet the front yard definition that 15, 20, 30, 40 feet, whatever it may be. And the second lot or the second street would meet a lesser setback, a side yard setback. And it's really designed, aimed at those sort of particular issues that the zoning board has seen. One of the things that actually came up just recently, and was something I think that was missed in, sort of an administrative miss as we forward this along. The intention here is really for this to be aimed at residential districts, primarily single family and duplex lots, not so much commercial development. And so certainly that's something that staff would recommend moving forward when this goes back to council, that there be further consideration of sort of refining where this is applicable, that it really focuses on those residential districts. Because in a lot of our commercial zones, we have a host of other standards around front yard setbacks and what can be done in front yards, parking and dumpster pads and those sorts of things that really aren't, again, as applicable when we're talking in the residential districts. So with that, Madam Chair, as I said, this went before council for first reading. It is before planning board for a public hearing. Just by way of background for folks who aren't aware, all changes to chapter 405 or zoning district go through this sort of sequential process of a first reading with council, public hearing with planning board, public hearing with council, and then a second reading with council. So tonight, this is the planning board's public hearing, opportunity to hear from the public, as well as an opinion from the board to council with respect to the proposed amendment that's before you.
Thank you. I would like to note that we did receive a comment from the public from Pat Sullivan, and that is in the record. Is there anybody from the public, either online or in the room, who would care to comment on this?
We have no one online.
Madam Chair, I have. no-
Let's just finish the public comment. I get to tap my gavel. Public hearing period is closed, and now we'll turn to the board. And I recognize Rick DePerry.
Thank you. I saw you look at me, so I didn't know where we were. That's where closing. I just have a question on clarification. So whether it's residential or commercial, once the front yard is defined as the front yard, whichever side they pick for a corner lot, would the backyard then be the opposite yard from the front yard? Because sometimes in the zoning ordinances, there are ordinances setbacks for the side setbacks and the front and the back setback. So is it safe to say that whether it's residential or commercial, that the backyard is the opposite front yard?
So actually, I'm glad you brought that up. If you can, in the diagrams, it sort of speaks to that issue. Typically, I will say that in our residential districts, however, we have a 15-foot side yard and rear yard setback. So ostensibly, it doesn't too much matter. But one of the interesting sort of iterations to work through is a lot that, rather than sitting on a corner, actually has streets, on both what could be a front and a back, right? And so in that instance, it sort of talks about meeting the side yard setback for that secondary, or what might be referred to as a rear yard, right? Not the front primary street frontage. So it does sort of speak to that. That would become a rear yard, so to speak.
Okay, yeah, so that makes sense for residential. I wasn't, I guess I missed the fact that the side yard and the backyards were all the same setback. So I think you said that because commercial is just has to adhere to a number of other constraints that I guess now I'm just not out of curiosity, but to make me a better planning board person.
Sure.
Is in commercial, the backyard opposite front yard?
Yes, typically. However, when it comes to, again, our rear and side yards are typically, I'm challenged to think of a zone where rear and side yards are different setback
Okay.
requirements.
Okay.
I can certainly take a look at that question, but I can't, like I said, I'm challenged to think of one
Okay.
where they actually differ.
So
It's typically we sort of say front yard setback X, side/rear Y.
okay,
Um,
all right. So I think the answer is the backyard is opposite the front yard, but it doesn't matter. So, okay, that's the only question I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board members? Comments? Jen?
Just a quick clarification. If for some reason a property owner lived at was in a situation where they either weren't sure about these, how these applied. So I'm not sure what bounds my property, or which, if they were somehow contesting, I guess, parts of this ordinance, do they have that would just sort of be a special case, right? And they would, if they wanted to make a change, they would come back to the zoning board anyway. This is coming from, it was rectified for us, but we used to own a property that was sort of addressed incorrectly. So our address was on the street, but we had no activity on the street. Our driveway and everything else is on this street. And so by that account, our front yard would have definitely been like our side yard.
Right.
And so I think that through probably the E911 readdressing, I know a lot of those things were kind of addressed, but I'm just curious, like if someone was in sort of an anomaly situation like that.
So typically, right, if we're talking about this applying to residential districts, the person's going to start with a conversation with our zoning administrator, and they'll sort of together identify, looking at the language, what's the front yard. If the property owner for some reason disagrees with
Yeah,
that,
that's what I'm.
there is an administrative appeal process, so they can say, zoning administrator's telling me street A is my front yard. I really think it should be street B. Then they can take that to the Board of Appeals. However, the way the language is crafted is it does sort of allow for some of that flexibility to sort of establish that
Yeah.
in reviewing the property and sort of say, okay, because as you point out, there are a lot of instances where the front door may face one street, the garage and all the access is off the other street,
Yeah.
particularly on a corner lot. So how do you sort of make that determination? And so there is some of that built into the language.
Okay. Thanks. That's all I have.
Other comments? Let me kind of straw poll the planning board in terms of recommending that this be applied to residential. That we request that the ordinance committee consider that as a change. Yes. All right, thank you. I think we just say, send it back to the ordinance committee. Okay. All right, to the town council then, our opinion is that this is a reasonable change in the ordinance, but we do request that they consider limiting it to residential property. Does that work, Jay? Work for the board? All right, we've got it. Thank you. Next item, number 6, Anthony Shelton requests a miscellaneous appeal advisory opinion on an expansion of a non-conforming use at 8 Hikers Parkway, assessors map U038 lot 7. Eric?
Thank you. So the applicant's in front of the planning board seeking an advisory opinion for a project in that Hikers Parkway zoning district. The project would involve demolition of an existing shed and construction of a small garage at the rear of the property, as well as a small land transfer. If the board's not familiar, this project is coming before you as the existing single-family use of the property is a non-conforming use, the expansion of which requires a miscellaneous appeal approval from the Zoning Board of Appeals. As part of that process, the Board of Appeals refers any miscellaneous appeal application to the planning board for an advisory opinion, which the planning board should be providing tonight. Staff has no comment on the project and has provided a draft motion for the board's consideration.
Thank you. And for the applicant. Approach the podium, sir.
Yes, sir.
If you could give me your name and address, please.
Anthony Shelton, 8 Haggis Parkway in Scarborough.
Thank you. And could you just give us a little bit? I know we have your full application here, but if you want to hit a couple highlights, I appreciate it.
Yes, so the back of the property has already been expanded right before we purchased the property end of August. So it's not part of the project. It's already been done. So it's already got the size that it needs for at least, I think it's 15 feet from the boundary lines. It's about at least 25 feet. So that's my only comment on that, what was already said, but.
All right, thank you. The board may have a couple of questions for you, so if you could just wait there. This is subject to a public hearing. Do we have anybody who cares to comment? Or anybody online? Do we have anybody online?
We do, but no hands raised.
All right. Nobody here? comment period is over. Let me turn this over to the board for any comments. Just raise your hand as you feel the need. Roger.
Is this the White House when you're first going onto the Parkway? It's just beyond Irving?
Yes,
On the left?
yes, right across from Anton's. Yes.
Okay, all right. I don't really have any other questions. I think it's pretty cut and dry. I just wanted to make sure it was a house that I thought it was.
Yes, sir.
It's kind of hard to figure this out.
Thank you, Roger. Any other?
I just have
Rick?
one, yeah, I think I have an easy question. I have no issue with him having a garage on his property. Is there a foundation for this? I didn't see any foundation plan or anything. It references a foundation in here, but
I'm going to do a foundation, yes. But I didn't put that in the planning papers. I wasn't aware that I needed to do that, but I'm starting to get estimates on price for that. And I'm going to do, right now there is some asphalt behind the house. I'm going to remove the asphalt, dig safe to make sure that there's no problems that way. But then I'm going to put sand and gravel down, as I understand it, and then at least 6 inches is what Home Depot requires for cement slab for the garage.
okay. I just wanted to, I guess for the neighbor's sake and for yours, if you were a neighbor of someone else, I just want to make sure it's not going to sink into the ground over there. So as long as you have foundation under it, I think it's fine.
Yes,
That's the only question. I have.
absolutely, yeah.
Any other comments or questions? Chad?
Will you be extending power to the garage?
Yes, yes,
And this is just for motor vehicle storage and tools and such?
correct, yes.
You know what? I do have one more question. Sorry.
All right, Rick,
Just
go
going
ahead.
back. I know it has a bill of materials on it. Is a contractor building this for you or are you building this yourself or?
Home Depot is with Tough Shed, and Tough
Yeah.
Shed are the ones I designed it online through their
Okay.
website. And then they come and they set it all up.
Okay.
They put it all up, so that part will be easy. I've
Yeah,
just got to get the
I was
foundation
just,
set
I
up.
was just curious because it's all laid out, but I was, yeah, that's all I have. I'm fine with it.
All right, thank you. No more questions? Lest we have just managed to scare you, the questions that we've asked in terms of the construction of this, and I also have one question on that, actually is something that doesn't have to do with our miscellaneous appeal. But it's helpful for us to know what's going on
Mhm.
and whether you're planning, especially on expanding the use that might be there, because that is part of an appeal for a non-conforming. My question is then the Tough Shed, what's the construction material?
I believe they're 2x4s is what they use.
Is it wood or plastic, I guess?
Wood, yes.
Oh, okay, then that's all I need to know. Thank you.
Cemeteries.
Shouldn't be a cemetery there.
Thank you. If no further questions, I have a draft motion here. I move to advise the Zoning Board of Appeals to approve the miscellaneous appeal request of Anthony Shelton. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Rick Dupere. No questions. Let us call the roll. Doreen?
Chad Reed,
Yes.
Rick DePerry,
Yes.
Rachel Hendrickson,
Yes.
Jennifer Ladd,
Yes.
and Roger Beely.
Yes.
Thank you very much. That takes care of it. We'll send it forward to the Zoning Board of Appeals with a positive recommendation. I drive past that just about every day, so I'm kind of familiar with the property there.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Is it okay if I leave?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
You got your approval.
Yes, very good, thank you.
Item number 7, Leighton Farm LLC requests a subdivision amendment review of the Fourth Amendment Leighton Farm subdivision located off Elmwood Avenue, assessors map R057, lots 1B and 3A. Eric.
Thank you. So Leighton Farm LLC is proposing to amend the Leighton Farm subdivision by revising several lot lines for the project. That would consist of amending the common lot line for lots 89 and 90 in the subdivision to allow for 2 homes currently under construction to better fit within the required building setbacks. The rear lot line of lot 97 will also be adjusted to provide additional buildable area to that lot, as well as align better with the buffer and wetland areas in that location. Staff's reviewed the application and had several comments, including asking the applicant to furnish some updated plan sets showing the correct building setback. Another item that we wanted to bring up for the board was to ensure that the drainage easement at the rear of lot 99 will connect to the stormwater buffer in that area. With that in mind, we've prepared a draft motion for the board's consideration, and I will turn it back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. And for the developer. State your name and affiliation.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm Sean Frank with Sebago Technics here on behalf of Leighton Farm LLC with Vincent Maeda. I think Eric had right on the nose. It's 2 lot line adjustments to better fit a couple of the homes. These conservation subdivisions are wonderful in terms of maintaining the open space, but sometimes, especially when the size of the homes are trying to fit in on the width of the lots, setbacks become very tight in some of them. So it just allows us to make those buildings the sizes on people are looking for these days. So we would appreciate the approval, and certainly we'll finalize with staff any little adjustments that they may have. We did correct the setback, and I'll certainly work with the town engineer regarding any changes to the easements. With that, Madam Chair, I'd be happy to answer any questions the board has. Thank you.
Thank you. This is an item that's subject to public comment. Do we have any comment from the room or online?
No hands raised online.
Public comment period is over. I don't know, Sean, I don't know if you are aware, but there is a draft motion on this. Have you seen it?
I have not.
We'll turn to the board for comment. Give Sean a few minutes to read the draft motion. Comments from the board.
I have a question.
Jen.
The buffer space that you are proposing behind lot 97, that's new? Is that-
No, it's not. It was just, it just shifted with the lot line slightly. So the width of the buffer is the same. It's really, we're in a situation where we have a culvert that crosses underneath Dillon Drive, just downstream, or downhill, if you will, of these lots. And because it was a site location project, it actually, the lots themselves need to have treatment provided. So it's basically the buffers to the rear of these within the common open space, but buffers to the rear of those 2 lots, providing the treatment for those 2 lots.
Okay, so that was existing and previously approved, and you're moving.
That's
it.
correct. And I think it was like 2 feet plus or minus.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Certainly.
Thank you. Other board comments?
I have a quick one.
Sure,
I
Rick.
think. So usually Sean comes with a nice big easel thing that shows the original and what you're asking for. Because I got like 5 drawings here and my eyes aren't all that great. And I can't figure out what you're asking for exactly. I think it's just a minor moving of a lot line, but
It is, and I apologize. I didn't bring, because it was, but it is basically just tweaking a lot line between lots 98 and 99.
98 and 99.
Which, and actually, I think the first thing Eric asked me to do is because on the original plan set, 98 was on one sheet and 99 was on another. So Eric asked if I could amend the plan so that I had both lots on one. So I think that's why you might have received another one. And then we adjusted the lot line, the setback.
I just can't see the difference. Is this the original or is this the amendment? Has staff looked this up? And Angela, have you looked at this and feel good about it?
Yeah, I was trying to bring it up if I could do it really quickly, but it is just.
I mean, I could vote
adjusting
yes,
two
but I have
lot
no
lines.
idea what I'm voting.
I
I just-
I
think that-
apologize.
think that's- I don't think that's good for me. Planning board standing. Just sit up here and say yes when she looks at me, which I usually do, believe me. When
And I
I
didn't.
mean, I see the lots that you're referring to in the notations on the maps, but I just don't see a difference between this one and this one. They look exactly the.
You want to look at the second amended versus the fourth amended, if in case in terms of if you're looking at the plans themselves.
Well, I have sheet 424 and I have sheet 424, and they both look exactly the same.
Well, and again, if one say second amended in the title block and the other say fourth amended,
I don't know, Sean. Shouldn't there be a revision number here next to your stamp somewhere?
it should be on that too, but it should say right in the main title block, second amended subdivision versus fourth.
Second amended versus fourth.
Yes,
Okay, and I'm looking at the second and the fourth, and I don't see a difference between lots 89 and 89.
and it's
90
just
look
between the
exactly
common.
same. So is it that minor a change?
It is that minor, but there should be a change in the bearing between those two lots.
Well, okay. I guess if I can't tell the difference by looking right at it between the second and the fourth, I'm probably okay with it.
It really is a small little triangle that's going from one lot to another, just to make sure that we could get the, everything fit within the setbacks. And I mean, and again, Rick, I apologize, because certainly you're right. I usually do bring the plans and have them on the board with the easel.
Before and after, 2 seconds.
I usually even have,
What's he paying?
I even have color.
Jesus.
All right, in support of my colleague on the planning board, what I had to do was look at the sheet that had signatures and compare it to the sheet that did not have signatures.
Yeah,
And that's the way I figured it out.
and that makes sense, and that's kind of what I was trying to do before the meeting, but I think what it is that the change is so minor that at this scale, you can't tell the difference. So I guess I'm okay with it. Next
the
time, it's
change
a lot
is-
quicker if you brought just one sheet.
The
of paper.
change is very minor, but you're absolutely right.
All right, thank you. Angela, go ahead.
Well, I just zoomed in on one of the two lot line changes. So if you wanted to talk through it, Sean, I can scan around.
That's fine. We're looking there at lot 97, and basically we just moved the back line further away from Dillon Drive. I think it was 2 or 3 feet off the top of my head, and then just aligned, again, that buffer, the stormwater buffer is the exact same. In terms of width, it just moved with the property line. And Angela, I think the other one would be up on the top left of that sheet. In terms of panning.
I think 89 is in the bottom right. Yeah. So that's can you show me the before and after?
No. Like, that might take a minute.
I mean,
Yeah, I think if, Rick, if you're satisfied, we can drive ourselves batty with
Yeah,
this
I'm fine. Skip.
for a couple of feet.
Definitely looking at the second and the fourth, and I can't tell the difference. So it must be so minor
I
that
think
it's
it's
fine.
like Sean's saying, you're talking a matter of 2 feet on a scale of, I don't know what scale. you
Right,
should
so if
have
if-
given it.
Killing me.
Visually, it
I'm
looks the
really
Drawn
same.
at like
Yeah.
60 scale, right, or something, that you're not gonna see it visually.
All right, we can now move on. Does any member of the planning board have a question? Roger?
Yeah, this is to Angela regarding the stormwater buffer, number 10.
Mhm.
Are you satisfied that that's taken care of?
It sounded like Sean is going to take care of it. I guess
I
if
know.
I go back to that plan,
Angela, it is in the draft motion, ensure the drainage easement of lot 99 will connect to stormwater buffer 10. Is that adequate for you?
yes.
Okay.
I
Okay,
just want to make sure that Sean is and Vinny are okay with.
That's fine. Again, it's just gonna be on the open space. And Angela, I didn't put it on that plan,
And
so I
it
will
might
adjust
make
that.
More sense on the grading plan, but essentially the shaded area on lot 99, as you can see, it goes up, and the intent is that's an easement to get back to probably maintain that buffer in the spillway that's in the back shaded area, where it's labeled as deed restricted buffer area. There, you can see it comes up 99, and then they don't connect. And there's grading through there to try to get the stormwater to actually go along lot 99 and then take a 90 and go through that buffer. So it's just to make sure that the homeowners can maintain it in the future to try to do any grading that's necessary through there. That's all. Are you guys okay with that?
Yes,
Just
we're
in
fine
there?
with that.
Okay.
I will get that on there. And again, I apologize, but that's not on the plan I dropped off to you either, Angela. So I'll get that on there.
All right, thank you. No more questions or observations from the planning board. We do have a draft motion. I move to approve the project titled Fourth Amendment Subdivision Plan of Leighton Farm proposed by Leighton Farm LLC as depicted on the plan set prepared by Sebago Technics dated 4/12/22 with the following findings and conditions. Findings. The proposal amends the existing Leighton Farm subdivision by revising the lot lines of lots 89 and 90 and adjusting the lot 97 boundary and easement lines. Conditions. 1, prior to the issuance of a building permit for lots 89, 90, or 97, the applicant shall A, provide an updated plan set showing new setback lines for these lots that have changed shape. B, ensure the drainage easement on lot 99 will connect to stormwater buffer 10. This will be reviewed and approved by the planning department. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Roger Beely. Doreen, you call the roll, please?
Jennifer Ladd,
Yes.
Roger Beely,
Yes.
Rachel Hendrickson,
Yes.
Rick Perry,
Yes.
and Chad Reed.
Yes.
Thank you very much. That's unanimous.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will certainly bring a colored plan with me next time.
Yes, please do.
So am I, buddy.
Item number 8, Crossroads Holdings LLC request a site inventory and analysis and master plan amendment review for the Innovation Way planned development located at Scarborough Downs, Assessors Map R052, Lot 4. Eric?
Thank you. So as Rachel mentioned, Crossroads Holdings is requesting an amendment to an approved master plan for the Innovation Way plan development located at Scarborough Downs. The amended plan is the result of a new wetland delineation performed by Flycatcher LLC, which shows fewer wetland areas and more developable uplands. Changes to the existing plan include combining former lots 1, 1A, and 1B into a singular lot, now known as Lot 1, as well as splitting off what will be known as Lot 1C from that area. The proposal would also create a developable lot at the corner of Scarborough Downs and Innovation Drive that is currently open space. Staff has several comments on the project, including that the new corner lot be considered a gateway property and uses be regulated similar to those on Lot 1, especially with respect to screening and applicable design standards. And similarly, last week, we noticed there's a number of lots shown on the regulating plan that are identified as both front and back lots. And that's on the plan that's orange and blue for you planning board folks. So these issues should be discussed with the applicant and clarified. And with that, I will turn it back over to the board.
Thank you. And for the applicant, Dan?
Good evening. Dan Bacon here on behalf of Crossroads Holdings, the Downs Project. I'm here with Drew Gagnon and Rich Jordan on our team. And thanks, Eric, for the introduction. I think for
I apologize, but if you could just wait a moment, Rick Beinkin, could you please come up? Rick snuck into the back of the room. And he has been here for the beginning of this, so he's. So he will be voting on this one. Chad, thank you for your service.
great.
Go ahead, Dan. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. I think as the board is well aware, I know Chad is fairly new to the board, so it wasn't part of the Innovation District review initially. But the master plan is the first step in development in the various districts within the Downs project and really kind of sets the tone for those areas of the project. From time to time, conditions change, circumstances change, so we do amendments to the master plan. We most recently did that with the Town Center Residential District. So this is similar in terms of making some updates to the Innovation District area of the project. And the board's well aware of kind of the details of the Innovation District, but for the benefit of the public, this is shown on the screen, the area of the Downs. That's the Innovation District. Much of it's already permitted through site plan for a variety of sites, or at least approved through subdivision. And we're, through this process, updating fairly subtly, the master plan, the site inventory analysis, and the regulating plan that apply to the Innovation District. In terms of kind of backing up a little bit more, the overall goals for Innovation District, they remain the same in terms of being really the economic development hub of the project, really geared for a mix of retail close to Payne Road, mixed with commercial, light industrial, manufacturing, bioscience with IDEX. And this would remain with the master plan amendment and delivers on a variety of kind of economic development and employment benefits to Scarborough and to the region. In terms of the design goals and character, again, these are slides from our prior review way back in 18 and 19, and they continue to remain the same with this change, having an attractive kind of commercial gateway coming into the project from Payne Road, being multimodal and accessible in terms of automobiles, but also in the future transit, being a walkable environment for employees, visitors, etc., and having some access to open space and trails. We're actually wanting to give the board an update on the Warren Woods property. We're very close to conveying 25 acres to Warren Woods from the original subdivision to kind of add to their land holdings and to grow that conservation space for the entire community. And then again, be kind of compact in terms of our layout, and then have that modern light industrial design that the board's very used to reviewing in the past 2 years. So in terms of the updates to this master plan, it's really kind of driven by three things. One is an update to the lot layout close to Payne Road for the Costco site. So right now in the master plan, there's 3 lots. There's a larger lot 1, and then lot 1A and 1B. We wanted to have the master plan correspond with the subdivision amendment that's next on your agenda, so that it's accurate in terms of that site development. The second kind of key piece is updates to and more accurate kind of wetland delineation and developable land area. And that update's been made in the site inventory and then also in the master plan in terms of what's actually wetland and development area. And then the third component, it's labeled as 1 for some reason, but it's third, is some minor amendments to the regulating plan to correspond with those first 2 items. So the regulating plan is accurate with our master plan and site inventory analysis. And then staff mentioned in the staff comments, kind of the gateway into the Innovation District, gateway into this area of the project. So we intend to maintain Innovation Way, an attractive gateway, and can speak to that in a second. So this is kind of a zoomed in shot at the updates to the master plan. And so, like I mentioned in the last slide, lot 1 is consolidated is a consolidation of the 3 lots instead of as originally approved in the master plan. So this accurately shows lot 1 and then shows lot 1C next to it. This is the update to the master plan. The next piece revolves around the updates to the wetland delineation developable land area, which Jordan's actually here and can kind of speak in a bit more detail to this as opposed to myself. So I'm going to turn it to him to quickly update you, and then I'll come back to the podium.
Good evening. Rich Jordan. I'm the president of Flycatcher LLC. I'm a professional wetland scientist and certified professional in erosion and sedimentation control. I've been working on the Downs project going back to about 2017. And my company is supporting Crossroads with the state and federal permitting for the DEP and the Army Corps side. So how we got to sort of a quick update of how we got to the wetlands changes. The site was originally delineated, meaning the wetlands were mapped back in 2018, 2019. Right around that same time, I worked for another company at the time. We were hired to do a peer review of those wetlands. It was just prior to Innovation District being submitted to the town. So my company went out and did a quick peer review of Innovation District. Flycatcher then eventually took over as I started Flycatcher in 2019. We then delineated the rest of the Scarborough Downs parcel. So Innovation was something we sort of adopted from another consultant. At the time we reviewed it, it was early summer, late spring. Everything was flooded down there. The lines looked relatively accurate at the time, and we were somewhat under the clock. So everything was accepted as is. It was submitted as, yes, there appears not to be any new wetland out here. And that's where the plan sat based on those earlier wetland designs. More recently, last year, we have a licensed soil scientist at Flycatcher named Rodney Kelshaw. Rodney went out to do soil surveys, doing high intensity soil surveys for a portion of the Innovation District, and called me and said, well, some of these areas that are shown as wetlands don't have hydric soils. Hydric soils are a component of wetlands. You need three factors: soils, plants, and hydrology. He was indicating that the soils didn't meet the criteria to be considered hydric soils. It's a bit technical. So we went out, started looking around real closely at the soils out there, looking at the vegetation, the changes that have occurred over the last 30, 40 years with all the development in the area. We brought in some additional consultation. We actually subcontracted to the former state soil scientist because of the tricky nature of the site, it's flat sand, and ultimately had some more colleagues come in to help us out. We had 2 licensed soil scientists, 4 professional wetland scientists, and 2 New Hampshire certified wetland scientists come out on site with us. We ended up making quite a field trip of it for a couple of days. Really dug into the wetlands. At the end of the day, we made a bunch of revisions to what had been mapped back in 2018, 19. Had everybody's review and acceptance of those lines, and have since then gone out. We've spoken with the Army Corps of Engineers, who regulates the wetlands at the federal level. We've spoken with the DEP. They're in agreement with our findings. We have recently submitted some new applications based around these changes. And then in January of this year, we had a very long presentation for staff. I think we went really deep into the details of the site, of the particularities of this particular area, the historic changes, the flat sands. Anyway, it was hopefully a fun education for Jay and some other staff members. I was told it was too long and dry, but it was detailed and science heavy. So with all that, basically, we're really confident with where the lines are at this point, the wetland boundaries in the Innovation District. Obviously, as I said, we did everything fresh for the rest of the downs. And as a condition of approval, I understand that there's a request for a more significant formal wetland delineation report, which we'll be providing. So. Question?
Thank you. Now let's finish the presentation, and if the board has specific questions, you can pop up again. Dan?
Thank you. I guess Rich went on long enough that I logged out here. Thanks, Rich. In terms of staff comments around kind of the gateway into the Innovation District, we actually have been, as a kind of parallel initiative, been working on gateway treatment similar to our focal point within the Innovation District at Center Street and Innovation Way. So this isn't part of this application. We'll be coming back to the board with a signage plan that you can review and approve as part of a future review with future subdivision. But this is a view really to kind of highlight the gateway in, the entry concept that we have coming in from Scarborough Downs Road and then entering into Innovation Way. So Innovation Way is where the car is leaving. The signage would be right at the corner. with landscaping. We'll develop a landscaping plan further. This is really to more highlight kind of the signage and that kind of gateway element. I think you'll recall from conversations with Costco, the corner closest, that's not shown there, is heavily wooded. That's where there's going to be a large kind of greenway was as you drive down as well. So it'll be kind of a green corridor coming in, and then the signage at the corner that will review with the board in more detail in the future. So we wanted to kind of give the board that kind of context in terms of the gateway into the innovation district. And in terms of staff comments around the use typologies on that corner, we actually selected kind of the innovation district uses intentionally there because it can be a combination. That you can have commercial uses on that corner. You also could have light industrial type uses. And I think that in the innovation district so far, working with the board, we've done a great job of identifying important corners and important sites and having architecture that is favorable, very attractive, regardless of whether it's more of kind of a light industrial use versus a commercial use. What comes to mind is the Score Builders building, the Throttle building, those prominent buildings right at the gateway or the former gateway into the innovation district at the Four Corners. And we expect to have architecture that's the same or better at this location, but do request that we be allowed to have that kind of menu of land uses there, just kind of given this is the gateway into the innovation district. And so I think with that, I don't have any other more specific slides or presentation, but I'm happy to answer questions as the board has them. And Rich and Drew are here as well.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if I could just for a moment, I just want to remind the board that as part of the process, because I know it gets a little complicated when we talk about master plans, regulating plans, subdivision plans. I think sort of the key component to think about is the regulating plan really becomes the zoning for the parcels. And I think, just as we're talking about these different terms, that's sort of the process that we're reviewing. Because the Crossroads Plan Development District, unlike any other zoning district, allows for that type of conversation with the applicant and the board to establish this regulating plan. Again, think zoning in whichever way sort of best fits the context and character that we're talking about for the area. Once that's established, then we get into the subdivision pieces and the site plan and all that. So I just thought that might be helpful for those who haven't been involved in this process in the past.
Thank you, Jay. I think it is helpful. This item is subject to public comment. Is there any member of the public in the room that would like to comment? Or anybody online? Any hands up?
No hands up at this time. Online.
All right. Public comment period is over. I do want to okay. I want to reiterate what Jay said. There's a series of, it's kind of like the chicken and the egg. We do the master and the regulating plans first, and then move to the subdivision. Sometimes one seems to get ahead of the other in terms of discussions we've already had, for instance, around Costco and lots 1A, 1B, and 1C. So you have to kind of put aside what might be coming and look at really what's in front of you, which is an amendment to the master and regulating plans. And a lot of the information that the staff has highlighted, really, I would call in another realm, I would call editorial. In other words, it is bringing the plan into some consistency with what's been going on over the past several years in terms of language. But there are other things that we need to take a look at as part of this. Kind of stay away if you can from what you know is coming up and look at this as what they've asked for, a change in the master plan. Let's start down with Rick Meinking. Rick?
So if I understand correctly, all we're really doing here is addressing the combination of lots and creating a new lot, as well as an updated delineation of the wetlands. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah, basically, that
Then I have no
that is
further-
correct. Okay, while we know there may be a lot coming along
Mhm.
because one has been formed, that's not specifically
Right.
before us right now. It's a heads up to us.
Well, given that that's the context of this, I have no comments or concerns.
Thank you. Jen?
I just have a question about, could you pull up the graphic that you have that shows the different utilities?
Oh, sure. So this shows schematically or at a basic level how the Innovation District is served. We've updated it too, Jen, with the changes to the cul-de-sac. So there's a few other changes that we're just kind of right sizing, so it's now accurate to past subdivision approvals. But this shows the locations of the various key utilities.
Yeah, did you?
Oh, I get you. There is
There is a different one. So actually, my question is answered by this one, but one of the other plans in our material showed, I actually just had a question about the gas line, but so here you're showing gas work all the way out to Payne Road, is that correct?
Yeah, it's installed.
Done.
This is also an as-built.
Yeah. Double duty. That's fine. My question was based on the shorter line, and my question was whether or not there was merit in whether or not the length of the line that was shown covered what you would need in terms of access from the lots that are in question. So if it's already in the ground, then obviously that's sufficient.
Yep, this is accurate. That's on the screen.
That's all I have. Thanks.
Roger? Roger's all set. Rick?
I just have a comment. I'm okay with what they're doing. I'll start with that. And the Downs always does a great job of presenting information, and I appreciate that. I'd like to say that you guys do that.
We did a PowerPoint instead of easels, but
What's that?
we did a PowerPoint instead of an easel, like
Yeah,
Sean should have. but-
Yeah, no, that's fine. But I do like the before and after. So we started about talking about delineation and how the old delineation was not accurate. I think that's the way it was worded. It's not accurate. And now there's a new delineation. And I understand, it was wet when you did it and it's hard to tell sometimes. And you've got a lot of scientists to say that now it's right and that's all good. And I have no issue with that. But I'd like to see a before and after, just like I told Sean. I want to see, I mean, am I just missing that? Is there a before? Is there?
No, this is
old
this is
delineation,
the
new
after. So
delineation?
we have the before and we can certainly provide that to you. So this
Yeah.
is the current accurate delineation.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I'd really like to see in the future, and again, I know we're at master plan level here, so I'd like to see whenever you're changing lots or something like that, if you can make it simple for me, because tonight's pretty light, but a lot of times this thing is the bag we get so heavy, you can't carry it up the stairs. So I would like to see this is before, this is the old delineation, this is the new delineation, laid right on top of each other, just use two different colors. And the same thing with the lots. So I kind of am familiar with this project, so I knew what you were doing.
Yep.
But anybody who's new that hasn't been doing this project for 2 years now, I like to see, these are the three lots that we're combining, and then this is three different colors, and then this is all one color. See what I'm saying?
Yep, absolutely.
So
We'll get
that's
you
all I
that
have.
on the wetland delineation. The next item on your agenda actually does have that set up that way.
Okay, so I just
Drew
have to
did
wait.
a good job.
Just a preview.
It
All
was-
right. Yeah, he's
I
always.
fell
really
down
good
on
at
the
this.
before and after, but he
All right.
can
I like
provide
the
that.
before and after. And he doesn't have a before and after delineation though, right?
I guess he does.
All right. All right. I'll wait for him. then.
I think I have it up here, actually. I put your presentation up, Drew. That's
I knew we had
before.
another one. I knew we had number 9 after number 8, and they looked exactly the same, but was
So
a
this
master
is the
plan, one
next
was a-
item on the agenda. So we're kind of jumping ahead, but it's showing you the same content, in
Alright.
terms of what you're asking about. This is the currently approved subdivision plan. And it shows the wetland delineation as currently approved. So that's the gray area. So I'm highlighting where it changes the most.
Yeah.
And it changes in a few other locations, but it changes the most right to the left of lot 2.
Yeah.
And I'll jump to what drew this one. This one. Okay. So this shows you the after,
Yeah.
the more accurate delineation. And so you see, this is upland, there's more upland in other locations, but this is the major change.
That's better. I still like colors. I know you have a
Yeah.
color printer. It does like 56 colors.
We'll get you that. We'll get you Drew's plan, but in this color scheme, so you can see easily.
Okay. If you can make my life easier, I would try to make your life easier. Okay, that'd be good. Thank you.
Done.
Thank you. Chad?
No, I think it's pretty clear here. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I recall the original plan, and I will say that in my den, I have at least a 3.5-foot stack of submissions from Crossroads Holdings, including all of the various master plan subdivisions and everything else, simply so if I have to, I can go back through. But Rick's suggestion of before and after, especially in something like this, and perhaps Jay and Eric for other subdivision amendments, it probably would be very helpful for the board who might not have hung on to prior applications or had a chance to look through the Dropbox or the files to
Absolutely.
really get some clarity on that. I did notice certainly that gateway area had changed significantly, as had lot 2, I believe. In the original version, lot 2 had a fair amount of wetlands encroaching onto it. So I do see a significant change there, and I certainly look forward to what you're going to be doing with that gateway lot. I think I may have, there may be another lot as well on the other side of Route 2 coming. I mean, not Route 2, but lot 2. Is there some space over there? It looked as though there was additional uplands there. That's, of
This
course, is
is-
to come, but
Right. Yeah, this shows at a master plan level, so the beige cream colored area. So this is what you're referring to. This
I'm
was-
referring to that, and then on the other side of this finger of wetlands,
And
right
over
through
here.
there. Yeah.
Yep. That's a more limited area, but there's certainly additional development area there as well.
All right, so at some point, we can look forward to seeing that is a subdivision or proposals
Absolutely. Yeah.
to us. Very good. Thank you. I have no further questions. If the board has nothing else, I have a draft motion. I move to approve the application titled The Downs Plan Development Innovation Way proposed by Crossroads Holdings LLC as depicted on the plan set prepared by Goral Palmer dated 2022 with the following findings and conditions. Findings: the project would amend the Innovation District Master Plan for the planned development area. As a result of a more recent wetland delineation, the area now includes more developable uplands. The proposal also combines lots 1, 1A, and 1B into a singular lot and creates lot 1C to facilitate the development of what is now considered as lot 1. Conditions: 1, provide a summary of Flycatcher LLC's findings from the updated wetland delineation until a full delineation report can be furnished. 2, add buffering, screening, and landscaping expectations for the newly developable area at the corner of Innovation Way and Scarborough Downs Road, as discussed at the April 25th, 2022 Planning Board meeting. 3, revise language in the regulating plan on pages 18 and 26 as requested in the staff memo dated 4/25/22. And 4, revise lot type on regulating plan as discussed during the planning board deliberations. This shall be reviewed and approved by the planning department. Dan, do you have any questions on the draft motion?
My only question is under 4, revising lot type. The board didn't discuss revising the lot. type.
I believe that's, would then be listed as the gateway, would it not?
I can clarify on that. So one of the things that we noticed going through this was that orange and blue front lot, rear lot design, that figure seems to kind of, at least for lot 2, and I think it's 25 on IDEX, it has some of those areas as both front and rear lot. And I think that was just as a result of using an old subdivision lot line layout. So just revising that to kind of better reflect a lot not being both a front lot and a rear lot.
Okay.
Yep.
Other questions?
No, that's good. Thank you. Thanks for the clarification.
All right, thank you. Did we have a second?
Second.
Roger Beely is seconded. Doreen, call the roll, please.
Rick DePerry,
Yes.
Rachel Hendrickson.
Yes.
Roger Beely,
Yes.
Jennifer Ladd,
Yes.
and Rick Manking.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
Excuse me for a moment. I've managed to throw out the next item. Here we go.
Make the meeting shorter.
Item number 9, Crossroads Holding LLC requests a subdivision amendment review of the 8th amended Innovation District subdivision at Scarborough Downs, Assessors Map R052, lot number 4. Eric?
Thank you. So Crossroads is requesting to amend the Innovation District subdivision to combine 3 lots, as we previously discussed, for the master plan and regulating plan, which are lots 1, 1A, and 1B, which will become now what's known as Lot 1. This will also establish a new lot, Lot C, east of Lot 1, and include expansion of a stormwater management area to the north and east of Lot 1. That lot would consist of about 19 acres, and Lot 1C would be approximately 2.2 acres under the proposal. Staff's only comment is that the open space be labeled on the cover sheet of the subdivision as it is on sheet S002. And on sheet S001, we hadn't seen that open space labeled. So I think that was our only comment. And after discussion of the master plan, staff has provided a draft motion of approval for the board's consideration. And as Jay had mentioned, now that we kind of have that zoning, so to speak, in place, we'd be comfortable moving that project ahead so we can kind of do this in one foul swoop.
Thank you. Drew?
Thank you. Drew Gagnon with Goral Palmer representing Crossroad Holdings LLC. I will be brief here and try to do a nice comparison for a lot line configuration for the board's pleasure. So again, as Eric did a nice job of introducing the project, we're just looking at a 22 lot subdivision consolidation and also dividing out a separate lot that we've labeled Lot 1C just to confuse everyone. So what we're looking at here is a Lot 1, which is the large lot that everyone is known as a Costco lot, and a consolidating Lot 1 with lots 1A, 1B, which are the lots originally designed up by Payne Road. So we're consolidating those 3 together, and then we're creating a Lot 1C, which will be just west of Lot 3. So this is the before plan. And the after plan, you can see just the consolidated Lot 1, the dividing out of Lot 1C, and just encompassing the stormwater management area. So as your board's probably aware, as part of the Costco project, the wet pond is going to be getting a little bit bigger to handle the flow from Lot 1 and Lot 1C. So as part of that application, those details are presented there, and we're encompassing the entire wet pond from an association standpoint, as well as a maintenance standpoint, and simply just dividing out Lot 1C. So really with this, all we're doing is moving lot lines. We're gonna have to come back in for site and or subdivision applications for both these lots, as the board is aware. And everything is limited north of Innovation Way. So I know the master plan, the previous item, had a lot to do with the southern edge of Innovation District, and that's not included in this subdivision application as of right now. We're happy to address the town's comments on the open space labeling for the time being. And that's really all I have. I can dive into any questions or answer any board questions. Thank you.
Thank you. This item is subject to public comment. Is there anyone in the room who wishes to comment? Anyone online?
No hands raised.
No hands raised. Public comment period is over. Turn to the board. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Roger?
I actually have no comment regarding what you're proposing right here, but I just wanted to make an observation. And I assume you're going to be back before us in the future regarding the buildable land next to Lot 2 and Lot 30, right?
Correct. Yeah, that'd be part of a future subdivision application.
And it looks like you got some more land there behind next to 31 and 51 also.
Correct.
This is pretty clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, you've done a wonderful job explaining this. I have a draft motion. I move to approve the project titled the Downs Innovation District 8th Amendment Subdivision proposed by Crossroads Holdings LLC as depicted on the plan set prepared by Goral Palmer and dated 4/4/22 with the following findings and conditions. Findings: the proposal amends the existing Innovation District subdivision at the Downs by combining lots 1, 1A, and 1B into a singular lot and creates Lot 1C. The project also serves to expand the stormwater management area at the northern portion of the site. Conditions. Number 1, prior to recording of the subdivision plan, the applicant shall A, on sheet S001, identify open space lot as shown on sheet S002. B, address all conditions of the master and regulating plan approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Rick Meinking. Doreen, call for the vote.
Rick Meinking,
Yes.
Jennifer Ladd,
Yes.
Roger Beely,
Yes.
Rachel Henriksen.
Yes.
And Rick Bucheri.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. It passes.
Thank you. See you soon.
Number 10, Washville Car Wash requests a sketch plan review of a 135-foot tunnel car wash located at 491 Payne Road and 205 Southborough Drive, assessors map R037, lots 48E and 50. Eric?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the applicant's requesting a sketch plan review for, I believe it's a 110-foot car wash tunnel. I saw 135 and 110 in the application, so I wasn't quite sure, but for the car wash and associated parking and vacuum stalls at 205 Southborough Drive and 491 Payne, the project is part of the Southborough Drive plan development and would use Southborough Drive as an exit, as well as a right-in via Payne Road. This is the second time the applicant has come in front of the board with a sketch plan for the project, with this rendition of the plan set having reoriented the car wash building and parking to better meet the town's commercial design standards, as well as removing the right-out access onto Payne Road. Staff's primary comments still revolve around the Payne Road access issue. which is not ideal, but can be considered feasible with ample mitigation measures that the applicant has discussed and brought forward. With that, I would turn it back to the board.
Thank you. And for the applicant?
This is Jim Waterman, one of the owners of Washville Car Wash. Thank you again for giving me an opportunity to represent our project over here on Payne Road in regards to the car wash. We took a lot of the comments received at the last meeting and made a bunch of different renderings. Do you have that, Jay, that you could pull up for me?
I'll ask Angela
I
to
can
work
try.
on
Or
it.
Angela.
My computer isn't wanting to.
All right, no worries.
Just the plan set, is that the plan?
Yep, it should be the new one.
It's loading. Just the architect.
Scroll all the way down. There might be.
Is it with the architect plans in the same file, you think? 'Cause I'm seeing just floor plans on that. Okay,
Yeah, it should be towards, yep.
all right, then I'll get there. What was there then? There we go.
So as Angela's pulling that up graciously for me, talk about this. One of the main comments was really the orientation of our building in regards to Payne Road. We originally had it set up as a perpendicular orientation. And with some of the architectural design review comments that we received back about our vacuums being forward facing to the road, our vacuum stalls, and our garage door openings being forward facing, we made a attempt to Eric's point. We went from a 135 to turn it. We had to actually shrink our building to 110 feet for the parallel version. So we took some length off the building in order to fit it in a lot properly. And this layout currently shows that 110 feet. One of the so that actually mitigated a couple of the concerns that the board had with the garage doors and the vacuums. So we were able to kind of shield the appearance of those things with changing the orientation of the building. It didn't really impede anything as far as traffic flow goes for us. We still felt that we had ample stacking room and we were able to add or have 3 pay lanes and a bypass lane if needed to circulate around the property. One of the things that we did as well, and I'll let Amy speak to it, is when we turned the building parallel, we implemented some more landscaping. So Amy, do you want to chat really quick about those upgrades?
That's the one that had the landscaping on it. If you can find that one. It's the first one you had up. Looks like that. Yeah, so basically, with the guidelines, we wanted to make sure that we were providing an ample landscape buffer between Payne Road and the car wash tunnel. So we are not looking to screen it 100%, obviously. So we're looking at filtering it with a variety of different shade trees, evergreen trees, and then smaller sort of flowering trees. But the idea is that as you're approaching the entrance, obviously it's a right turn in only. So as you're approaching that, you'd have larger shade trees you could see under, and then you'd have a low berm. Yeah, so you can see that there. So between Payne Road then and the queuing stacking lanes, you'd have this filtered landscape buffer and a low berm that would help to screen out the cars that are stacked in the queue line. So the idea is that, we're not going to screen the building, but there's ample room for a pretty sizable buffer in there. So that's the between Payne Road and the queuing space. And then you can see throughout the parking lot, again, we're landscaping the islands and providing different types of vegetation in all the different areas so that it's seasonal, hardy, all those good things. And then can you scooch it a little bit so you can see a little bit more of the top of the image?
Takes a little while to.
So Jim, I was thinking maybe you can talk to some of the comments that the staff gave us. If you want to jump in and talk about that. So I think you can use this drawing to do that.
Yeah, this is a great drawing for what we're going to talk about next. So one of the comments that we received back was on the Payne Road for the access, the length of the median and trying to really mitigate that left turn in. One of the things that even after we've done this rendition that we've thought about further is what's currently there in the Pizza Plus is a very large uncurbed access and egress point into that parking lot. So we actually looked at it really closely, and we think that we can actually move that northeast access point off of Payne Road to the north about 60 feet. That would basically roughly extend the median at that point by moving the access point north by 70 to 80 feet. It's already a little bit difficult to take a left in there. You can make it, but we feel that if we move it to that orientation, which this doesn't currently show, but we have the ability to do so, that would really kind of create that median that we're trying to do and really mitigate anybody from a left-hand turn into the property.
Yeah, I'm just going to add to that a little bit. So on this plan, you can see the bigger open green space that's kind of to the north side. You can see two larger circles of the shade trees along Payne Road. So that's north of the entrance. Yeah. So again, you can almost see the dashed in area where Pizza Plus is. So if you can just imagine the whole entrance shifted north and then, it would kind of curve, be parallel to Payne Road and then connect into those to the existing queue as it's shown. So we would have an extended landscape buffer, that would continue. And then we have that space that's adjacent to Sebago Brewing's parking area. So you have the new entrance coming in, and then we have that common area, which is the current stormwater infrastructure. But because we've got the space where the building was, we've got ample room to kind of modify that, tweak that to make sure that it's accommodating the stormwater design when we get to that point. Obviously, the engineers haven't done full on stormwater management just yet, but there's ample space within there to modify the entrance, modify the landscaping, and provide room for stormwater. And then the fourth component then would be, which just came up in staff comments, was the thought of being able to have folks come off of Southborough Drive and get into the car wash tunnel. So, we looked at that, but obviously one of the first issues was this common area, the stormwater management facility there. But because we've got this extra space now with the Pizza Plus building, we can modify that and we can add an entrance into the wash tunnel coming off of Southborough Drive, basically just north of the exit. If you can imagine, if you look at, I wish I don't have a way to point to this.
Actually, right where you.
Yeah, right there. Yeah, so if you can imagine it coming in from, the parking lot on the east side coming west towards the entrance, and then really having an angle and having, some kind of barrier that would, between the lanes. So as you're approaching it, someone's not going to try to come through there and then like cut out the right turn in and do some stupid right turn out. So to prevent that, we can really design it, engineer it so that the road comes in, it has an angle on it, and then there's some type of barrier that prevents that movement. So, obviously we know we don't want to have an exit on a Payne Road, but the comment about providing access from Southborough Drive to minimize or eliminate, hopefully, someone doing some dangerous U-turn movement on Payne Road. So we thought that was a helpful staff comment. So I think we can make that happen because we've got ample space.
Be a two-way kind of?
Yeah, you have an exit there coming out of the wash tunnel, but then adjacent to that, you'd have an in lane. But it would go into queuing. It wouldn't go into the tunnel. Sorry if I was misspeaking, if that was confusing. The ability to come from Southborough Drive, come along, turn, take a right there, go on, north side of there, get into the queuing lane, and then they'd exit out and go out the same way. So everybody's coming in, you know, the one way in and going out, the one way out. Sorry, that would be confusing. Yeah. So, yes. But what I was, yes, talking about right as you were doing that curve, that's the tricky part of making sure that folks don't come there, you know, they're coming out of Sebago and they want to get out and do something stupid and then they take a right and try to get out the entrance. So just making sure we engineer that so that eliminates that potential. And then as Jim was saying, it by moving the whole entrance in, or, you know, further north, we've got more room to kind of make that nice connection. And then it just gives you whatever 70 to 80 feet of extended median beyond that. And the other good thing too is that by pushing the entrance further north, it takes away that coming out of Michael's, trying to like cut over the median and go straight into it. It eliminates that possibility because you wouldn't be able to do that. So I think that these changes, these tweaks as we get to it will really do a lot to help control access there. And, you know, we'll be narrow, we'll have a narrower access than what Pizza Plus has. So it'll be good. That all makes sense. Sorry if it was confusing. I don't have a way to point at it. So
If people are confused, they'll ask questions. Don't worry. Do you have any other comments?
Well, just to the point that we're adding the access on the Southborough Road or from Southborough Road into the car wash. One of the things that we were trying to address was, it got brought up in the first meeting, was trip generation coming into the site. And so we feel that we still were able to have that access from Southborough to the wash, but we were able to still eliminate the amount of trip generation based on the way that access road would flow into the site. So that people really making a right off of Payne Road are really only there to visit the wash and not Sebago like originally on the other plan. So that was really our attempt there to address a lot of those comments. I believe that is one of the things we really quick about the queuing and stacking for each pay station. I did provide information as far as kind of our process and how we process vehicles. That was a question that was brought up last time, and we wanted to really address that. So we did provide the board with an operational kind of outline as to how we work traffic on busy days on our site. So I don't know if there's any questions in regards to that, but we did try to address that in that document as well.
Thank you. This item is subject to public comment. Is there anyone in the room who would like to make a comment? Anybody in the audience? Anybody online?
No hands raised.
Thank you. Public comment is over. Before I start with the rest of the board, let me say, I really appreciate your thoughtfulness in considering our concerns, the ordinances, the design standards, our traffic issues, and the work that you really went to try and address those. So I do appreciate what you've done there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Turn it over to the board. Let's start to my right. Remember, this is a sketch plan, and we have to provide them with some guidance on their next submission. Chad?
Certainly echo the sentiment as far as the effort taken here. I guess, as far as a roadway or monument sign off of Payne Road, is that what maybe this black rectangle represents?
That's correct.
And so as far as getting folks from that Southborough Drive, I guess, would there be any other signage elsewhere on site in the development, or?
yeah, I mean, there would need to be a comprehensive signage, wayfinding, because obviously you're coming from Southborough Drive all the way across. It's a little bit of a haul. So you have to make sure that as you're coming across, you can see a sign, so folks know where to see it. So there'll be a comprehensive sign package.
Very clear striping too would probably help as well.
No, just I appreciate the screening and also be very interested in the approach to site lighting. So.
Site lighting, yep.
Director Perry.
Kind of wanted to go after Jen on this one.
Sorry, you can't read her homework.
I know. She's so good at this stuff, though. So I guess I have some questions on traffic, although I'm sure Jen's gonna do a better job, but this medium extension to prevent left turn, is that proposed? Is that gonna be there? Is that, and I apologize if you already went over this in your presentation and I missed it, because I kind of got a little lost.
Yeah,
there.
so we really want to try to prevent that left-hand turn.
Yeah.
So what we're proposing that's not maybe detailed in the drawing that we presented
Okay.
tonight is actually moving that entrance north.
Yeah.
About 60 feet, and that would actually extend the existing median about 70 to 80 feet to prevent that left turn.
Okay, so I think, and I know we're at sketch plan, so you're gonna come back and show us all this again, but so the medium extended to prevent left turn isn't really going to be there. What you're gonna do is you're gonna shift. I got lost whether you were shifting the entrance or you were extending the medium or you were doing both.
Yeah, no, we're doing both. So you'd
You're
be
doing
shifting the
both.
entrance further north than what your sketch shows. But
And
to
you're
your
doing
point
the
about the
median.
extended median, yeah, we would, because right now it's,
Okay.
as you know, as you folks kind of come down, the median that's there now ends and
Yeah.
folks just take that left turn into
Yeah.
Pizza Plus, which is dangerous. So there's space to extend that raised median further. So that's the extension we're talking about. Actually, Angela, if you could go to the.
Please make sure that you're
Sorry.
close enough to the mic.
I'm sorry about that. And yeah, if you can go to the overall plan, you can see that area in orange that we've noted there.
Yep.
That's the sort of area where you'd have the extended raised median.
Yep.
That would prevent folks from turning left, no matter where the entrance is. Also prevent folks from the Michaels kind of crossing over,
Right.
because, you know,
Okay.
now you can see where the yellow, where the green ends and the orange starts. It's kind of where the existing median ends.
Yeah.
So that orange area is that raised extended median. coming
Yeah.
up that
And I like both those, and I thank you for doing that. I think it makes sense. I just didn't know if you were doing one or both.
Yeah,
or-
no, yeah, sorry
okay.
if it wasn't
That's okay.
clear. Yes.
And then, again, as far as what you're proposing here, I'm fine with that. You talked about another revamping that, making an entrance in from south. And I know you talked about, you don't have to go through it again. But it will be on the next,
Yes, yes, yeah. I mean, we
Okay.
thought, to Jim's point, I mean, we are trying to respond to board and staff comments about
Right.
not providing some sort of weird, cut through and doing things like
Yeah.
that. So, in this redesign, after we looked at it and after we got staff comments, we're like, well, okay, I think we have room, if we can make it work from a stormwater perspective, because there's that existing detention basin there, then we can move the entrance up and then provide that
Okay.
access.
And-
So, yeah.
That makes sense. I appreciate that. And the last question I have, I guess, pertains to, there seems like there's a lot of, because it's a drive-through kind of thing, and I think it's a great place for it and a good spot. There's a lot of parking already existing there, obviously, in the lower right-hand corner. Is there, are you just going to leave that parking as is, or do you have any future plans for that at this time, or are you
So
thinking
that's
about
the
doing,
55
developing
spaces.
that later, maybe?
Yeah, so that's a great question. When we did the first sketch plan review, in our due diligence process with the seller, we found out there was a lease after the fact that we had to provide Sebago with 55 or 50, I think it was 55 spaces
Okay.
as part of a lease agreement that was there with the seller. So we actually had to add it somewhere. So
Yeah.
we added it down there,
Okay, so that.
which is
parking-
really similar to what they kind of have now.
Yeah.
but
So that parking, you own it, they lease it.
Correct.
It's for Sebago. You're not putting another storefront or anything down there.
That's correct.
And again, at sketch plan, it doesn't matter. I was just more curious than anything else, because for a drive-through, for what you're proposing, which is a great idea, great place for a great idea. I just was wondering who was going to be parking over there. Okay, cool. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
As we understand, that kind of gravelly area off the existing pavement is used for overflow for Sebago Brewing now. So that's basically what they're accommodating here, is that overflow.
Okay. Yeah, no, that looks fine. It looks very nice. I think you did a good job.
Thank you. Roger.
Okay, kind of curious, have you talked to Sebago Brew about what their experience has been? Because they basically, all their clientele comes in off of Southborough. Have you had any discussions with them?
Not in regards to their traffic flow, no, just the parking.
Okay. Yeah, I understand what you're trying to do. Or let me ask you this, where on there is the existing Pizza Plus building?
So if you look here, you can see the dash line just above the entrance. Yep, that little square, that's where Pizza Plus currently resides.
Isn't that the leach?
That would be just to the south past the dotted line in the other green area.
So Pizza Plus is way up there?
Mhm.
Okay, so this where you're gonna have the car wash is that lot between Pizza Plus and Lazy Boy? Okay. So where's the current Pizza Plus? They just have a lodge, you just drive in. Yeah, it's the whole thing, right?
You mean, are you referring to their curb cut?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty wide.
Yeah, it's the whole
60
length
feet
of
wide,
the
yeah.
property actually for
Yeah,
Pizza
okay,
Plus,
all
yeah.
right. Yeah.
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 I'm not sure if if any of those drawings show it.
The reason I bring up Sebago Brew is because I'm sure, well, people who are gonna go to your place, they're gonna be regular clientele, I think, mostly going there, unless they're maybe at one of the hotels and the hotel can tell them how to get there. Personally, I think you're spending a lot of money trying to get out on the Payne Road when you have great access right through Southborough. And everybody who goes to Sebago Brew knows that you have to come in off of Southborough. So that's just my opinion.
Okay.
And I think once people realize how you get there, the big issue is signage on Southborough. To get in, because when you come in heading south on Payne Road, you do have to make a quick turn to get into Southborough. So when I was looking at your sketch here, I don't see, if you're heading south on Payne Road and you're coming in, you're gonna come in through Southborough. I don't see on here, maybe I'm missing it, how you get your car washed based on the arrows, the directional arrows you have.
Yeah, so that's what Amy was just describing, a change that we are amenable to making based off of the comment that we weren't able to draw and present for tonight. But we would be adding an additional lane along the exit side of the tunnel to the north
Okay.
that would connect.
It's not currently shown on the plans.
Oh, okay.
Correct.
All right.
It would connect, again, it would connect over to the queuing area, kind of go around the car wash, connect into the queuing area.
Okay. Now, you're gonna extend that divider on Payne Road. What about the folks across the street, Christmas Tree Shop and Michael's? Do they have any say in this? Because when.
Yeah, it's in the public right of way, and this is an area that's known traffic congestion, accident problem. So I think the town departments, public works, planning, public safety, won't speak for engineering, she can speak for herself, fully supportive of this. And there is full access at the light, again, that has a dedicated left turn.
Right,
lane.
by Southborough.
Yep,
Yeah.
and then they can get
So,
back in.
but there's
So-
other ways of getting out of those parking lots without going to the light. So they're gonna have to rearrange there.
No,
They won't have to?
no, they just won't have the left turn, the left's in and the left out issue that it's currently the primary access management issue in the corridor. So this actually resolves a host of problems along the whole corridor, and everyone has access now at a traffic signal with a dedicated left turn signal, and really alleviates congestion and safety hazards that we've had for the 15 years I've been working here. and longer than
I
that.
understand that, and it makes
Yeah.
perfect sense, and
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it. I just was concerned, curious whether anybody lets these other businesses know that all of a sudden they're.
Oh, sure, I understand. Yeah, so we notify all abutters, right?
Yeah.
When an application comes
Yeah.
forward, that every abutter within 500 feet gets notified. So certainly all these property owners will be notified that there's an application and they can see it online and they can be part of the process.
Okay.
And they can make comments and come and talk to us.
And I guess my last thing, this is a difficult lot because of the traffic, obviously, you know, and this would be a pretty good business to, you know, plunk in there if you can make it work. This common area, at last time you were here, I think I made the comment that I've actually parked on that area going to Sebago Brew. And what is that? Is that just anybody can, is that for any use for anybody?
You're talking about the gravel area?
I
Yeah,
think,
the common area.
yeah, no, I think the area that you
Oh,
park
yeah,
in
you
is
can-
kind of like an informal gravel area that's off the pavement. The common area, as it's labeled here, is actually a detention basin that's got
Oh,
a
it is?
guardrail around it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I wonder why it was
Yeah.
low.
Jay has, yeah.
There's a gravel area right up in here that you parked in. If you parked in there, you really. you
Oh,
spent a
okay,
few
okay.
hours at the farm.
Okay. Well, that's possible.
No, you probably parked over there.
And if you park over there, you're going to have be towed out probably because your car would have sunk a bit.
I guess that's all I have. As long as you're gonna give the people heading south on Route 1, on Payne Road, a way to get the car washed. Now, I do have another question. If you have a right-in turn lane, right in, people who think they're gonna sneak into Sebago Brew another way, they're gonna have to get a car wash first.
Well, we do have an access lane that goes around,
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I see. it.
but
Okay, all right.
we're going to make it very enticing to get them in to see us first.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think the application has talked about that would be primarily for emergency access and that staff at the car wash should be monitoring that pretty heavily.
That's correct. Yeah.
Um,
So it's in our employees and operationally, something we would probably put a cone system in of some sort for traffic management.
Okay, that's all I have, but I'll just go back to what I said initially. I don't think you would suffer, your business would suffer just having access off of Southborough because people would get to know how you get to it. And,
Appreciate the
it could
opinion.
save you some money.
Thank you. Jen? See, Rick DePerry could not copy your homework.
He took my first two questions and then Roger took one of my other questions, so I don't really have too much left. I am just one question out of curiosity. I'm curious about what the impact to your development program operationally was from moving the length of this tunnel from 135 feet to 110 feet.
So the length for us really has to do with processing speed. So if when we build our sites, we have a projection of what we think we would do annually. And then during our peak or banner days, what we think we could process as far as time goes. That change costs us about a 30 car an hour difference in processing. So
Like on average.
on average, yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Slightly related, perhaps. I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about the amount of queue length storage that you're providing
Mhm.
and how you arrived at that.
Yeah, so when we changed the orientation of the building, we did lose a little bit of stacking, but we were able to have those 3 lanes as well at each of our pay gates. Each of our pay gates on average can process a transaction 1 every 30 seconds. So with it being about a 30-second time frame times 3 gates, we feel that we can move traffic just as quick through the pay station gates as we can through our 110-foot tunnel. Even though we've reduced that length and processing, we can still move them faster than we can transact them. So we felt very confident in that. And then we were able to have 6 cars stacked at each pay lane on current design. So we feel that at our processing speed of this wash will probably process somewhere around 150 to 160 cars per hour at peak speed. We should be able to process any traffic that comes on in a timely enough management to mitigate traffic being out on Payne Road.
So that's, I think what I'm hearing you say is it's basically a balance between like, the wash bay is not the holdup necessarily, but nor is the cash out. Or
That's correct. Yeah. So if, just for an example, to make it maybe a little more simple, if I only had one pay station and I was processing versus the three, my transaction process would be so long that I would stack up.
Yeah.
So even with the amount of stacking that's shown, I would still stack up. So by adding and continuing to have the 3 pay lanes and not going under 110 feet was kind of a crucial mark for us for speed processing.
And I think one of the things that we brought up as staff was kind of at the site plan level when we get there is to kind of see, I know you mentioned there was a location in Brunswick and you have some others across New England, kind of at comparable locations, what that, I don't know if you want to call it peak hour, but what you generally expect for that queuing length to be in those locations. So we can kind of get an idea of how that 18 plus the transaction speed kind of stacks up with where we are. It seems to be adequate to me, but I think that would be great information to provide as part of the site plan.
Yeah, and I think Amy is pointing out, I think I was misspoke that we're actually able to,
Well, with the change.
with the change, we're able to actually have a 9-car stacked on a 6-car. So it becomes 27 total instead of the 18. So my apologies there. So I'm going to give you a really good example. We have a store in Augusta that is in our portfolio, our busiest store. And that store right now, currently, even on a peak day, and that tunnel is 135 feet. We're able to process cars at like maybe 105 to 110 cars an hour. So it's way under what we could actually process. And that's just because that's how often people are pulling in to the site. So it's pretty rare that we are out onto the main road based off of that. Actually, I don't think it's happened since we've had ownership there. And same thing in Brunswick, which is a little bit of a slower store, but we have ample stacking and we're able to process there actually somewhere around 140 cars an hour on a peak day because of the length of the tunnel and our teller set up there. So we anticipate, really no stacking and queuing issues here based off the change.
Great. That's very helpful information and like kind of fascinating car wash metrics. I now know. And then you also inherently answered one of my other questions, which was not to beat a dead horse, but whether or not the entrance, you were proposing to shift that entrance that you have room left. And so on future submission, you'll be showing that further to the north, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Great. And the only other notation I had, which is only because I work on plans like this myself and it's like jumped out at me, but it might be helpful for us to see, there's this one lot here where I think where the pizza place is now, but the lot line's not closed out along Payne Road. So I don't know if that's actually what the right of way looks like, where it jogs in for that lot. Or do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you can check that.
Okay.
Make sure it's clear.
Yeah. My guess is it's probably just a line that's off.
Yeah.
And it jumped out at me because the entrance that you're showing currently looks like it's outside of your property, which I don't think it is. So that's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Rick Munking.
Yeah, you were putting in a square building in a round hole to start with, and you've been able to make it fit in. One thing that I'm curious about, and you don't have to answer it now, but it should be in your submission, is how you take care of the surface during winter. I can see coming out, there's a lot of water that follows the vehicle, even though you go through dryers. That's going to cause some icing problems in the wintertime. And given the fact that this is now used for more than for establishments there, there should be some sort of plan written down so that we can understand how you're going to maintain it safely. Fair enough?
Absolutely.
And
That's an easy one.
my other question is, when you were referring to the Augusta establishment, is that the one that's just before you get to the Armory from 295?
That would be correct.
I really like that. I wash my car there a lot when I'm going to Augusta, and it's worked wonderful.
Great to hear.
Finally, I don't think cones are adequate ways to restrict and relying on staff who may be busy and realize that stacking is happening. So I would encourage you to ensure there's a good plan to deal with the queuing should it become stacked to the point, okay? And I really don't think relying on staff to take notice that it's queuing up is prudent.
Okay.
All right, that's all I have.
Thank you. Let me just wind up with a few things. One of the things that Rick Meinking just reminded me of is when we see your next plan, your fuller plan, we're going to be looking for snow storage. I don't know who's going to be responsible for doing the plowing in that parking lot, whether it's part of the condominium group or what, but the snow's got to go someplace. So make sure that you have adequate information for us around that. I think I'm kind of with Rick on just cones. It might be possible to consider directing people when these stacking lines are full, directing them to the Southborough entrance, because you're going to end up with a stacking area coming in from Southborough if you figure out how to do that. So in other words, you end up with a fourth stacking line, and that might be one way to handle that. I've got a couple of questions about the access. You have an island. I'm just going to point on my sheet, which isn't going to help you. Off of the Sebago parking lot, at the Sebago, you have an island with landscaping on it. And by the way, I really appreciate the landscaping. I think it's going to add a lot to that area. And you have two different lanes, which both are in and out. And I'm not clear why you don't have one as an entrance into the parking area and the vacuum area and possibly the stacking area, and the other one is an exit. People, I think, are more used to saying, okay, if I've got an island here, I go in this way, I come out this way. So I'd like you to take a look at that and really consider how traffic is going to be moving through that area, through the area of the vacuums and through the area of the parking lot. The arrows ended up confusing me a little bit there. I'm not sure that that's the sort of flow that you need, and you don't have to tell me about it now. I would just say, in terms of your next application to us, that you really consider that, and that you spend a lot of time considering how you're going to be directing people into these areas, so that they're not finding themselves in the wrong line all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I'm
sorry.
Just a moment.
Nope.
The teacher in me is saying,
Nope.
thank you very much. You can raise your hand in a minute. I appreciate some of the changes that you made in the building. I believe you now have windows in the front, am I correct, along the road, or something that looks like windows?
That's correct.
Okay, that's good, because you actually have to have something like that in any building over 100 feet long. And just a kind of a question that I'd like you to take a look at, and that is the bathroom, the restroom for staff and presumably customers is only accessed from the outside. And And the staff would be going around and through the customer service area or through the equipment room, constantly potentially constantly leaving a warmer area going into the cold to get to the restroom. And I don't know if there's a way to access the restroom from the interior of the building, if that's at all possible. Just again, this is something that you can take a look at as a way to handle winter months here in Maine. As you know, can get a little bad out there. And if staff are coming out already kind of damp from the work that they've been doing, that's not terribly healthy. So I really do appreciate all of the work that you've done and the thought that you've put into this. I certainly think the parking that you've set up is infinitely superior to what you had originally. And Roger, I think we'll be able to find it, not end up parking, kind of in the wrong place, but that's, so, yeah, I think you can do it. And again, I want to comment on the landscaping, really, that the thought that went into that, the thought to the buffering, and the visual appearance of that area, I think is outstanding. So now I will, and you may raise your hand.
I just wanted to clarify that those red arrows on the plan were more of just a guidance on this is how someone would move through the site. So the black arrows that are showing, multi-directionals, that's for traffic. The red is more of a suggestion as to someone coming off of Payne Road, coming into the queue line, going through the wash tunnel, then going into the vacuum area, and then exiting out to Southborough Drive. So it's meant to be kind of a bigger picture because we didn't provide that last time, and I thought that was confusing. So the idea was just to have a better idea, kind of moving through the whole site and getting out to Southborough Drive. So
I think Rachel's comment was more
Yeah.
geared towards those bi-directional entrances.
Yeah.
Like, it's not clear if someone coming from Southborough would go down one or the other to access.
yeah,
the
no,
vacuum.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, I appreciate that comment, and we'll look at that a little bit closer. It's just tough because when you have these existing buildings that you're trying to connect to their existing parking lots. So, but we can look at that whole area there, make sure it's clear.
Yeah, and we will also pay attention basically to pedestrian walkways. These are things that we look at as you bring them to us. So folks walking through a parking lot, how do they get to a place of safety? If there are going to be a lot of cars coming in and out. And I know you have crosswalks, but I'm simply letting you know that these are things that we take a look at and make sure that they're carefully thought out. And I'm sure they will be. So I have no more questions. Anybody? So application ready to go to the next level? Do you have any questions for us?
No, I don't. You guys were very informative. I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate the work that you did with the working with staff and resolving so many of the issues and concerns that we have. When you come up with your final form, a final subdivision, final site plan, don't worry about repeating things you've already told us. It's okay. So you've told us about Augusta and you've told us about Brunswick. Repeat that so that we're really clear on how you're going to be handling the stacking, how many cars are going to be going through, how you're thinking about things. And especially, don't be afraid to put in things about how you arrived at a decision, because that helps us understand what it is that you're doing and why you got to that place.
Fair enough.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, number 11, staff report. And let's see if we can do this before we have to take a break at 8:30.
All right, I'll start real quick.
Okay.
Just want to let folks know, I might have mentioned it at the last meeting, but I can't quite recall. So on our town website, there is a project page related to the Downs. And more specifically, we've added a map related to the Downs traffic improvements over the next 4 or 5 years. And they're sort of laid out by year and you can click on it. I think one of the things that is been referenced, and I think there's still some confusion, and we got to look at how it's sort of labeled on the website, but there's a difference between the town's traffic impact fees and the Downs traffic movement permit improvements. And so the improvements that the Downs are required to make are to mitigate their traffic impacts throughout the town. The town's traffic impact fees are sort of separate and distinct from that. There is crossover, and that's where I think it gets a little confusing, but I think it's important for folks to recognize that sort of all those improvements are the Downs responsibilities. And there are areas, specific areas where the town, there has been discussion between the town council and the development team about utilizing some of our impact fees that we've collected over a 30-year time span, and we just would never collect enough money to make a significant enough improvement. And so that's where some of the relationship is coming. And so folks can take a look on the website, see if that provides some additional clarification around that point, but just wanted to make mention of that. On the town's website, I think if you go to the planning department, there's a number of ways you can get to it. If you just, I think in the search, just type the word Downs, it'll likely pop up. But I think if you go through planning projects, public works projects, as I said, there's a host of ways of getting there, but using that search feature, Downs traffic, you'll find what you're looking for.
Is that referencing the $2.8 million that is reported?
I guess.
Media always reports that the town's portion is $2.8 million. They don't refer to it as source through impact fees.
Right, so that at this point, those are the only monies that the town would be putting in, would be traffic impact fees, which again, I think, Roger, the point you're raising is those are funds that are sitting in a reserve account that were collected from developers over the past X number of years, decades in many cases, and they're not taxpayer funded dollars. And so we can take a look at the language that's on the website and see if that's a clearer point.
Last week on Channel 6.
Yep.
When the reporter was talking about the meeting that's followed, they just said the town's portion.
Yep.
That's the way they referred to it. And then in the leader, they said the same thing, the town's portion. So people who are not paying attention to this will think we have to put $2.8 million of improvements out of this $14 million.
Yep.
I think that has to be really clarified.
Along the same lines, I think it's an important soundbite to remember and remind other people and the public in general that the bulk, not all, but the vast majority of these improvements are coming as a result of mitigation for development on the Downs property. This is not the Downs coming in wholesale and fixing traffic problems that we have in town. And I think that for a lot of people, I think this is great. And I think this is a great way for people to see what's coming because there's a lot coming. But I think, I don't know, maybe other people don't care about it as much as I do, but I think it's important because there's also a lot of traffic coming. That's why we're doing this. And so, you know, they have to do that. I think it's been some really creative partnerships and certainly a good opportunity to use the impact fees in an efficient way. But we have that opportunity because there's a tremendous amount of growth and impact that we're going to realize on our transportation network. And I think that's something that at least the media coverage that I saw on this did not pick up on. So anyway, I appreciate all those involved in getting this map uploaded. I think it's gonna be really helpful for a lot of people.
Another question, Shay. If for some reason Johnson's not getting the channel, so town center thing kind of evaporates, right?
You gotta ask an easy question, I can see.
With this whole plan between the DOT and would that have to be revised or is that based on?
They have to make those improvements by 2026 as part of that TMP.
Yeah.
So they'd still be held to it.
Even if someone never developed?
Correct.
Yep, that TMP is already approved.
Yep.
Okay, all right, okay. But it's also taken into account what's
Coming.
Well, you get
Yeah.
your trip generate, trips because of that.
Anything else on the staff reports?
Yes, I just want to remind the board that we have I just want to remind the board that we have a workshop with the town attorney, Phil Saucier, next week on Thursday, starting at 5:30 PM in the Public Safety Building. For those of you who haven't been there yet, you just go into the Public Safety Building, the first door on the left. Once you get into the lobby is their classroom kind of workspace area. So we'll have that from 5:30 to probably about 6:30. And after that, Phil says he has time for questions if there are any. If you think of anything you want for the boardsmanship workshop, send me an email. I'm certainly happy to put you in touch with Phil or relay your ideas to him. I already have a couple that I've jotted down for him, so we'll be doing that next week. And that's it.
Thank you. Administrative amendment report,
None.
minor development reviews.
Yep, so we have been reviewing two minor reviews, one for a landscaping business at 109 Pleasant Hill Road, and another for a site plan amendment at 2 Washington Avenue. The landscaping business at 109 Pleasant Hill Road is still being reviewed, and staff has actually approved the site plan amendment for 2 Washington Avenue.
All right, correspondence? None. Planning board comments? Any comments? Rick?
I drove by Aroma Joe's and it's open. And there was no queuing. I said, was that no? There was only a couple of cars there, but it is now. Oh, you probably know. You probably smell the coffee. Yeah, yeah. Time to make the donuts, buddy.
You're out there handling the phones on the queuing.
You're handling the cones on the queuing.
Not only can you see, you can't hear.
Yeah.
I have walked over for coffee.
In the walkway there. Goes from the house.
They have a walk-up window on the side.
All right, I guess I have an observation, just to let you folks know, I keep hearing issues around Costco about parking. And if the planning board turns down parking, this is going to happen. Or if the planning board doesn't do this, that's going to happen. And in prior years, occasionally, what the planning board chair has done at the introduction of some of the items is to remind people what our role is. And our role is quasi judicial, and it is really to enforce the ordinances and ensure that people meet that. And I think that's something we're going to have to go back to reminding folks, especially when what could be considered controversial in terms of people like or don't like some of the applications, just to remind the public, those people viewing, remind the newspapers who sometimes forget things, and remind the folks in the audience what our role is. And it's really not to like or dislike something. It's to enforce the ordinances. And that constant repetition of that might be very helpful to folks, so that if they don't like something, they start calling the town councilors instead of us. Anything else? Any other comments? Motion to adjourn? Well, I was asking one. Roger motion to adjourn. Jen seconded. Doreen, call the roll for adjournment, please.
Rick King,
Yes.
Jennifer Lyde,
Yes.
Roger Beely,
Yes.
Rachel Henriksen,
Yes,
and Rick DePerry.
Yes.
thank you very much. We're adjourned. Thank you for your work.